Louisville Live this morning. Good having you with us, and good having Dr. Eli here. Dr. Eli is a seat over for me, and Sarah Jordan's here. So you went this weekend and had a retreat on how to make your marriage last for 50 years. Right?
Yes, we did an engaged couples retreat yesterday for about 6 hours. We sat through, and there's different sessions and speakers and everything.
Is this a good thing, Dr. Eli?
Yeah, you know, I've been giving this message consistently the last couple months that I've been on, that premarital work is good, whether it comes in a group format, whether it comes one-on-one. It's good, because when you get this advice, you know, you learn about some of these predictable stages that all couples go through, Sarah, as you're about to enter, and it doesn't seem like a big freak out moment when it happens, when you have these predictable roadblocks as far as being in a long-term relationship. So did you get some useful information on that?
Actually, I did. I got a lot of useful information, especially like tips for fighting fair, for instance. Like, if you're in a fight with someone, try holding hands with them and see how much longer you can actually be in a legitimate fight, and like little things like that. And I totally felt called out, like, don't do the silent treatment. I'm totally the one in the car that does this and looks out the window and like things like that.
Well, let's tell you a little bit about Dr. Eli. He's at the University of Louisville, but you deal with conflict with couples, and you deal with blended families. Tell us a bit about your practice here, and here's just some of the items you work with.
Basically working with couples and families in all of their interpersonal domains. I mean, we just don't look at the person in isolation. We look how they're doing in their relationship, how they're doing at home, in school, with their family, all of those things, and provide a wide variety of services. And if I can't work with you, one of my associates or my students that I train at the Kent School of Social Work in the Family Therapy Program at the University of Louisville will. And we'll have some things to talk about in a couple weeks, Craig, opportunities for people out in the community that want to get this relationship education. We're starting a new program at U of L through some of our placement sites in the community, and we'll be able to talk about that in a couple months.
Well, we're taking your phone calls. If you want to call up, feel free to do so. 276-2118, 502-276-2118. If you have a question for Dr. Eli. We also called earlier for some emails, and people will send Dr. Eli some emails. Lisa is writing us here, Louisville Live this morning with Dr. Eli. She has a question about long-distance relationships. How about this one?
I'm currently in a long-distance relationship. My boyfriend has a job in Michigan. I do love him, but I hate the long distance. Is it possible to make these types of long-distance relationships work?
Okay,
it's a good question, and we get that a lot. So Lisa, I would say, first of all, we got to know a couple of things. First of all, is there an end point to the distance? These relationships do much better when you know that the distance is not open-ended. It is coming to an end. So do you have another 6 months or a year? Knowing that gives you the extra mental edge, I think, to kind of get through that and to know expectations. Also, are you good talking to your partner on the phone, or is your partner good talking to you? Because if you go through long periods of silence, you know, it's hard to know what's going on. And when you don't know what's going on with your partner, you tend to worry, sometimes catastrophize. Obviously, you have to have lots of trust in the relationship. Can you trust that your partner, are the expectations clear so that your partner is not going to be going out with other people? Or if they are, do you know those people that they're going out with? So I would say lots of research would say distance is costly, but if you know the end time, Lisa, and if you trust your partner, you can get through it. But just to have open-ended distance with you may or may not be reunited is not a good thing.
And I would think eventually one of them is going to have to move. One's going to move here, one's going to move there. And in this economy, it's a little bit of a challenge to find a job.
I had friends of mine from high school that their entire college education was spread apart by at least 4 hours. And then now he has a job in Texas, and she's in Nashville, but they got engaged. So, I mean, they're totally doing the long-distance thing. But you're right, there's a means to an end. She knows exactly how long it is till they get to live together, get married, everything else. So it's totally doable.
Another thing you need to know is when you leave that person, when is the next time you're going to see them? So even if you don't have the permanent move located yet, do you know, okay, in a month from now or 2 weekends from now, we're going to see each other? So having that next visit planned is important, and just knowing, again, when it's going to end.
All right, Dr. Eli is here. If you have a question, 276-2118. But we want to continue with the mailbag. Sometime we have time for questions. If you have mailbag, we don't. Here's one from Mike. Mike is writing Louisville Live this morning. I am a divorced dad, and I'm having difficulty connecting to my teenage daughter. We had a great time together when she was younger, when I had her every other weekend. Now she avoids me and is uncomfortable talking to me about her friends and her social life. How can I connect with her? I would say, Mike, she's a teenager.
That's right.
Sarah was once a teenager.
Right. Teenagers get in that difficult stage where I feel like anything that's adult to them, whether it's a teacher or a parent, it's kind of like, no, I'm sorry, I'm too cool for you. I've got my own thing going on. But
and I think that is, again, Mike, part of developmentally where a teenager is at. It doesn't have anything to do with the fact that you're a single dad or from a divorced family. I think teenage girls especially have trauma with the difficulty with the opposite sex parent, and they get their identity through their social groups, through their network. So she's she's hanging out with her friends, and I wouldn't catastrophize if she's not talking to you. I think the important thing is to do is meet her where she's at. Find a point where you can connect with her, whether it be a TV show, something you guys go out and do. Maybe you have a ritual, maybe go out to dinner once a week or a lunch. You have to find that point of connection and kind of grow it from there. And I think that's the important part.
And the upside is once they get to college, they totally appreciate parents again. That's how I was. I got away to school and I was like, oh my gosh,
Right.
Mom, thank you for doing my dishes.
Yeah, kids are not programmed to say, oh, thank you for being such a great dad. Oh, thank you for picking me up from school. They don't do that. They're not hardwired for that. Doesn't mean they don't appreciate it. Doesn't mean those things you do with your child during those teenage years, you will reap those rewards later on. But you're right, it's not an immediate payoff for a parent.
But when they get that attitude and they start saying, I'm running away, or I'm going to take the car, I'm going with my boyfriend whether you like it or not, you got to put your foot down sometime.
Luckily, you have a couple years to prepare for this, right?
Oh, yeah.
Right.
Mine's just 8, so I got to wait.
It's nice. And people, that's another thing. In that email, Mike, you were saying that you kind of lament, this idea you had this great connection with her. And that's normal, too, when they're younger. When they get older, things change.
All right. Dr. Eli is with us just about every Monday. If you want to get a hold of him, there's his website. Feel free to call him. He is confidential. He'll talk about all kinds of relationship questions. Good having you with us.
Good to see you guys next week.
When we come back, Louisville Live this morning, Ricky Jones with the Senate race in Kentucky. Don't go away.